welcome in. It's the BGN Radio post-game instant reaction show, and we have a lot of instant reaction with whatever you want to call that as the Philadelphia Eagles fall in Dallas. Whether or not you expected a win, this was not pleasant to watch by any means, and we're going to talk a lot about it. Not just us, of course, myself, Jess, Rachel, but you as well. We'll get your 3 words. There is a lot to look at that just fell short. It was an ugly game. It was a difficult game to watch. I would suggest that you stay off social media. That's why we're here, to hang with you and kind of talk you and walk you through the proper post-game reaction as we bring in Jess here and try to make sense of what happens. Rachel's going to join us coming up in a little bit, but I mean, my goodness, I don't honestly, I think Jalen Hurts is the obvious place to start, but I wouldn't fault you, Jess, if you wanted to start, I don't know, like the 17 or 18 other areas of disappointment as well.
So I have a little bit different of an opinion on it. And I think that while the offense was a disappointment today, the way that I was thinking about going into this year was, and we talked about this last week and I think the week before, I was expecting some growing pains. You've got a guy who going into the season played 3.5 NFL games on a team that was horrific last year. You've got a young team. You were hoping the offensive line would be what you could rely on, and you've got a lot of young talent. You've got young receivers, you've got young running backs, you've got a young quarterback, you've got a rookie head coach, you've got a new offensive coordinator. Everything about the offense is new. You were going to see some good things and some things where you were going to go, oh no, I didn't like that. And you were going to cringe and you're going to like, okay, maybe they'll throw that one out. But there were going to be a lot of growing pains there. I can make my peace with being patient with the offense and being patient with Jalen Hurts for the year and being patient with some of these other things within the offense. What I do not have patience for is a defense full of veterans making bonehead mistakes week in and week out. It's absolutely unacceptable for the defense to make as much money as they do, and for the amount of money that Howie Roseman spends on a defense and on the defensive line that is absolutely terrible in these kinds of situations. And they make way too many mistakes. Yes, Fletcher Cox had some good plays tonight. Yes, Javon Hargrave had some good plays tonight. And Josh Sweat had his sack as well. But outside of that, you've got a first-round pick in Derek Barnett that has been a disappointment since day one. He makes more knucklehead mistakes than anyone in professional sports right now. Anyone. Lining up off sides, not knowing what the play call is coming out of a timeout, constant unnecessary roughness penalties that do nothing but hurt your team. It is disgusting to watch him play football sometimes. The defense is my biggest issue solely because it is full of guys that should be better and should perform better than Steven Nelson apparently not knowing the game started on the opening drive. Right. There are too many mistakes there that are rookie and young player mistakes that are being made by guys who've been in the league 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I'm so unbelievably tired of it. And Jonathan Gannon had his tail tucked between his legs all night long. The defense was horrific.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to ignore the fact that they were gashed on the ground. And at one point, they really were averaging. Dallas really was averaging like high 7, 8 yards per carry. If it was Pollard or Elliott, there's a great clip going around. I don't know if you caught it. Somebody recorded it on the broadcast of Sirianni saying it's always him in response to Barnett getting called for that penalty. And it's amazing because we see it. And that right there, as viral and funny of a clip as that will be, it's validation. It's validation that we are seeing the same thing that the coaching staff is seeing right there and the liability that he's become on the field. But You're right about this defense, especially from the standpoint of a run defense that they established for the first 2 weeks of the season. What the hell happened to that?
I don't understand. And it just shows you that once again, it doesn't matter who the coach is right now. It doesn't matter who the coach is or what kind of coaching staff you got going on. This roster is not constructed well. And this front office refuses to admit defeat when they make bonehead picks. They refuse to admit that they messed up. They refuse to admit that they messed up with the Derek Barnett pick. They refuse to admit they messed up by drafting JJ Arcega-Whiteside. It's going to continue. And this is why no fan can rely on the front office to make the right decisions. It's why when they trade up to go draft Devontae Smith, we're all still chewing on our fingernails until Roger Goodell announces the pick, because you think that they're still going to do something stupid in that situation. So right now, you're just watching a bunch of people who don't even belong on NFL teams be like cornerstone pieces. And I understand that Brandon Graham is hurt, and he is the anchor of that defense. I understand you're losing a leader, but my God, like, step up and make him proud. Step up and make him proud instead of rolling over for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak looked phenomenal, and that's not to take anything away from Dak and how he came back after that injury. First home game after the injury, like, he played a phenomenal game. And of course, the Cowboys have such elite playmakers on that offense. But good grief. Like, you have them out there looking like Super Bowl champions, and they are not Super Bowl champions. They're not a Super Bowl team. And I can't even wrap my head around how disgusting. And again, the offense couldn't sustain a drive either, so the defense was also tired. But they looked tired from the first snap. I mean, they looked like deer in headlights. There's absolutely no excuse for the way some of those guys played tonight.
It didn't look like the team was prepared at all throughout. And again, if it's growing pains on the offense, if it's being disappointed and disgusted, really, which I think is accurate on the defense when you start to pile up veterans on that side, for a team that opened up the season airtight in their game plan against Atlanta, this looks like such a complete departure. And I guess that's where the frustration starts, because we've been talking about this consistently, and we can pat ourselves on the back for keeping an even keel, balanced approach, I think, to the first two games. And this is not like, oh my goodness, the season is over and we've lost Super Bowl hopes by any means. But the way in which they lost this game stands out even more so than San Francisco, when you can point to just not finishing. Just not get you're right there at the finish line, and for some reason you come up short, right? This game felt like it was lost before the first snap, before they got on the field. And that's not what we got, at least we saw in Atlanta. So, yes, I agree with you where there's growing pains to point to. We'll talk about the offense in a second. And I'm right there. I think a lot of people watched this defense, especially after they established themselves as somewhat of a force on the ground. And with Hargraves and Cox in the middle, it just didn't pan out at all to what we've seen. And you walk away frustrated. You walk away upset, because it's one thing to get your ass kicked because your team sucks. It's another thing for your team to just not be there. And you mentioned one guy not being there. Now, I don't think the team was there. I think he just showed up late. The team showed up late. He just showed up late.
Yeah, I mean, for we talked about a lot, the depth in the cornerback position was going to be a question mark.
Yep.
I mean, the starters are a question mark for me right now.
Linebackers are
no, don't even get me. The Eagles have not valued a linebacker since 1979. Okay, the linebacker. Some of these guys should not be on an NFL roster anywhere, and they are like touted as these elite starters for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I can appreciate that they play hard, and I do appreciate that they play hard, but the linebackers in coverage just makes me want to scoop my eyeballs out with a fork. Like, just scoop them out of my head, because I can't watch it anymore. It's just infuriating to have the same issues week in, week out, year in, year out. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. It's the same BS over and over and over again. And with the offense, you think, okay, at least I'm hopeful with the young talent that we'll get some new things in there and they'll figure it out. And you like Sirianni's energy, this and the other thing. the defense just it's like beating your head against a brick wall. There's nothing that's going to change about it. There's nothing that's going to get better about it, and it's awful to watch.
They made
And
Dalton Schultz look like Travis Kelce.
Yes.
I mean, that just can't
That
happen.
tells you everything you need to know.
And again, that's not a rookie quarterback. That's not a first-time head coach, offensive coordinator calling plays. That feeds into this being a team organizational issue. That feeds into it being a position, as you mentioned, that they've neglected forever, and getting or settling with what you've had. And look, we've got good games from Alex Singleton. I don't want to just write him off like he hasn't performed, right? But I think that when you get comfortable at a position that you've neglected for so long, you're not really striving to get better at it. You're kind of just accepting status quo. And I think that's the point, which is, hey, in his time here, a guy like Singleton has been serviceable, and we looked at him as the best of the bad bunch, I think, for a while last year.
Right.
But he should be the worst of a decent to good bunch, if at all part of that bunch. And tonight was a reminder, if not a lesson. I think that it was cool and it was fun to experience that last year, and maybe a little bit trailing into week one. But this shit is bad at that position, Jess. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good. And I think that, the epitome of what the defense was tonight, and unfortunately what they were last week as well, was TJ Edwards coming in and not letting Dak juke him out a little bit, coming in and laying an electric hit on Dak Prescott at a point in the game where you get a stop here, you're still in it. You still have a chance. Come right back down and jump off sides. That's on third down. That's the epitome of what I think this defense is. And I understand that it was Milton Williams, who is a rookie, that jumped off sides. And again, that is what it is. But collectively, it's just the boneheaded mistakes that continuously come in with this defense. And, you don't solve that problem with the current philosophy of how your roster is built.
Yeah, soft zone all night. That's Mike Pia here on the chat, still giving up big plays. Gannon needs some blame. I think the blame is going all around here. There are things that are happening in game where you're running defense. Guys up front are just getting blown off the ball. I don't remember that felt like watching a college game where you have, like a Penn State Nova scenario, right? Where the talent level, the gap is so wide that you're seeing consistently 4 or 5 guys just getting blown back 4 to 5 yards. I mean, there were times in that game, Jess, in which Pollard and Elliott weren't touched until they were 5 yards deep into the defense. Not even touched until they were 5-6 yards deep into the defense. You can't do anything at that point, especially if Dallas turns around and starts to throw. No wonder why their tight ends started shredding them in the middle of the field.
I mean, that defense was, and it's not to say that the offense was any better or is without blame. I mean, they are equally to blame, but I think that the upside of the offense is so much greater. The ceiling for the offense is so much higher than, like, the defense almost is what it is. And I don't know if that's from the last couple years of that being it. Like, you always know that there could be a little bit more talent wise. Your quarterback could do a little bit more. The play calling could do a little bit more. Like that leftover mentality, in my opinion, that the defense kind of was what it was, and the offense had to pick up the slack on the other side. But I mean, collectively, they just, I don't know. I think that the biggest problem blanket across the board is this team doesn't have an identity. The offense doesn't have an identity, and the defense doesn't have an identity, and they are quite literally going through an identity crisis, and they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what they are, and they don't know what they want to be. I think they know what they want to be, but they don't know if that's what they should be, and they don't really know how to get there. And they're just an absolute mess. And it's only week 3.
No, it's a long ways to go. we've got a tough schedule in front of us by all means. Now we're going to get to Rachel because I know we had a bunch of 3 words on Twitter. I did see this from Michael Wright here, and this is a perfect opportunity to look at the chat as well as some tweets and opening up the conversation to where we can point to Jalen Hurts, we can point to Devontae Smith, even Rager and others, knowing that offensive line. We'll talk about the injuries. I mean, that offensive line is decimated right now. But the one thing I felt that was controllable, at least adjustable, was the game plan. And I don't know what the hell he's doing staying away from Miles Sanders. First time Sanders touched it, it felt like it was near the 2-minute warning, and he gashes Dallas for 25 yards, and it was like few and far between. So I think we can look at the offense, we can look at growing pains and still be frustrated, but point at areas and say, okay, that needs to get better. But this is now 2 straight weeks in which the game plan has sputtered, the game plan has faltered, and failed guys on the field. Again, with the running, I don't understand how you can neglect somebody like Miles Sanders, especially after you saw what you got initially on that first run. It just happened to be so deep in the game.
It's the philosophy again. It's the philosophy of what this organization is. It's not whoever the coach was for the last 5 years. It's the philosophy of this organization. And that's what ended up ending that relationship between the only guy to ever win a Super Bowl in Eagles history and the front office. That's what ended it. It was the fact that the philosophy of how the roster was built and what they wanted to do didn't match up with what Doug Peterson wanted to do. And this is my concern when they hired Nick Sirianni in the first place. You know what? It would have been my concern with whoever they hired, regardless of who it was, is they picked the guy that was going to be their yes man that Doug Peterson wouldn't be. And I don't want to believe that he is, but that was my concern going in. I don't understand I understand that the Atlanta Falcons are terrible. They are a terrible football team. I get that. But you go in with an airtight game plan week 1, complete balanced run pass attack. You get all of your different receivers, including your tight ends, involved early in the game. Your defense is absolutely locked down. You smack the crap out of the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta and abandon every single thing you did going forward. That makes no sense. I don't care if you are a first-year middle school JV head coach of a football team. That makes no sense whatsoever. None. Zero.
He was an OC too. It's not like it came from middle school or JV. He was running an offense, or at least underneath the guy running an offense in Indianapolis. How does he not see this?
Which leads me to believe that it's way more about the philosophy and what is being told to angle things. I have a whole conspiracy theory about Howie Roseman and how the Eagles operate in itself, and that I cannot seem to get away from. But it's things like this where I'm like, what else makes sense? Nothing else makes sense.
I imagine Twitter's a buzz. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and you're subscribed here as well. We appreciate you hanging with us on the BGN Radio Instant Reaction Show. All right, Rachel, how bad is it?
It's terrible. It's actually horrendous. Like,
pretty bad.
People are going in, and rightfully so. But some of the tweets that I pulled, are pretty appropriate. Some of these are reckless, so I'm not going to read these on here. But one I thought that kind of stood out, it was from Reckless Philly fan at Reckless Fan 87. Reality setting in, and I think you guys touched on this a little bit. Week 1, the Eagles came out, dominated the Falcons, and now it's kind of just like the wheels are falling off. Week 2, week 3 is going downhill, and now, based off of the game, that performance that we just had, I'm a little sad and I'm a little worried going into the remaining stretch, because we have the Chiefs that's coming up next, and then we also have like the Panthers, the Bucks, the Raiders. If this is how we're looking against Dallas in the same division, what are those games going to look like? It's actually really, really sad. It's a little scary to think about. I saw another tweet. It was from Will Moore at Philly Guy 413. No quick fix. Jess touched on this a lot. It's kind of like this is just the organization. I think it's like the trickle down effect from the dysfunction. We can't even just blame Nick Sirianni. You can't blame Jalen Hurts. there is no quick fix. It's kind of just like how they build this franchise. And I don't think anything is going to change unless, like that comes from up top. Some of the offensive pieces, the defensive pieces, those things aren't going to change the entire team and how the team performs. That's kind of sad. So
it's not going to happen overnight.
It's not going to.
And that's the thing that I think we've been trying to prepare ourselves for. And tonight just sucks because they were so unprepared for this game and making so many bonehead mistakes on their own. Not like that was going to really matter at the end. But I think when we talk about this, the three of us in the chat here as well, we look at those next couple of games, the Panthers defense, which is much better than I think a lot of people may have thought before the season began. This doesn't happen overnight. Like, we may see a couple more games like this where there are just glaring mistakes, missed throws, undercut, Jalen holding the ball, Devontae dropping the ball, Reagan, whatever it may be. So, yes, while we mentally prepare ourselves for that, at the same time, I think we also have to know that we're in this for the long run. That this means that, Joe Flacco doesn't come in when you're getting your ass kicked Monday night in Dallas, please. Or we don't start tweeting about who the Eagles could trade for at the end of the season. If this is really about the growth, right, that we talk about and allowing Jalen Hurts to have room to grow, then I think we need to let him make mistakes. Man, I feel like a parent. I know I'm a new one here, but I feel like, all right, let the child make some mistakes out here. Let this kid grow, for goodness sakes.
I was going to say, you're really developing as a person now that you're a dad, aren't you?
Yeah, don't give me too much credit now, Jess. I could easily revert back as soon as he gets old enough to walk.
Not even like old enough to drink a beer with you. We're going to go with old enough to walk.
Yes.
Okay.
I know me. I'm not going to reach by all means. But don't you feel somewhat of that? Like,
yeah,
I can't believe that people are pushing to see somebody else.
Are you surprised though? Are you surprised?
No.
Come on.
Frustration. Like, what do you expect?
It's the quickest response, and it's the most infuriating response.
Yeah.
This man this was his 7th NFL game today.
Yeah.
7th.
Yeah.
And I understand that he did not play well. Mm-hmm. Did anyone play well?
Nope.
No.
Aaron Sipas, our punter, played really well.
Here you go. That's it.
Elite. But
Philadelphia's number one Australian, by the way. We have to keep reminding people that.
Yeah, well, I was missing the other Australian a little bit on the left side of the offensive line today.
Well, no, that's right. I'm sorry.
I know what you were going to, but this is football time.
Mailata wasn't even on the brain. He wasn't even out there.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there right now.
I tried to.
I was hoping the Eagles would make me feel better, and they didn't. And I'm upset.
I'm sorry.
Miles, I'm just reading a tweet right now from Victor Williams at the Philly Pod that's just on my Twitter as I'm scrolling through to see any interesting updates. Miles Sanders has carried the ball 6 times in the last 6 quarters.
How? Could somebody please explain that to me?
Free Miles Sanders. That's all I have to say.
It doesn't make any sense. And then look, 6 quarters. This game was not over in the first quarter. Yeah, Dallas was up, but this game was not over at the half. Why is he moving away? Especially, and I would love to see what his yards per carry is, especially over those last 6 quarters in which he's been utterly neglected, because I guarantee you he's taking chunks for the most part. And then that's it. He disappears. It's almost like, you know what? I'm willing to buy into this conspiracy. It's almost like, the jockey, right, pulling up right before he's about to win that race, like how he's sending down a beeper or some sort of like clicker to Sirianni, like, whoa, it's too much Miles Sanders right there. Why don't you start throwing the football, kid? I don't know what this is. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
And it's crazy because he looked good. Like the few carries that he got, it was, okay, we need more. We need more of this. It gave you a little bit of a spark. It was like excitement. And then
the ball, he broke off for 25, and you're like,
yep. First carry, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that Dallas defense is not that good. It's not nearly as good as the Eagles offense made them look tonight. And exactly what you said, Eitan, it's not a quick fix. And it goes all the way up. And it's because Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are frickin' frack out here in the Eagles in the NovaCare Center, just walking around, and one's not going to go without the other. And it's not even like after last year when everyone's ass was on the hot seat. Howie was just fine. He was just fine and comfortable and doing what he did. And there was never any indication that his role was in any question. And at the end of the day, when you're talking about there's not enough talent, there's not enough depth, their roster's just not good enough. Well, who the hell put the roster together? How come we keep letting this person just manipulate this team? It's horrific.
Again and again, every year. He can't go anywhere. It's amazing. He's related to Jeffrey Lurie, I promise you, in some weird long capacity. I know we have some more.
Have some like pictures of him doing something illegal that would completely ruin his life.
Though, right?
It has.
I feel it's video. It can't even be pictures. Like this is a 7-minute video of like the most incriminating shit that Jeffrey Lurie could ever do in his life, and it's like triple. There's one in I don't know, somewhere in a locker in like the Port Richmond Y or something there, in case that Howie ever disappears and only somebody knows the code. I don't know. It's something like that, though. I'll believe it. Let me ask you, I know we're going to get back to a couple of tweets, but I'm curious for both of you, just what you would point to as and look, we'll look at this all in the capacity of growing pains. This isn't about calling for Gardner Minshew. And I need to keep reiterating that because I know people are coming in and probably have been calling for somebody else in their frustration. But if you just look at Jalen Hurts tonight in Dallas, what's the most frustrating thing that came from his play?
I would say accuracy. It looked like a lot of his throws were off. In the beginning, one of the things that I wrote down was that he didn't look comfortable and he was playing too quickly. It was like he was still trying to be fancy. And we talked about that last week. He was still trying to be cute. And then there were a lot of plays that were like either overthrown or they were underthrown. Accuracy was just off. And I was just so confused because I was like, we haven't seen this. This is probably like the worst performance that we have seen from this far. So my biggest thing would be accuracy.
I 100% agree. I mean, the first interception, if you're going to miss that ball, you got to miss that long. You can't underthrow that ball. There was the ball that was behind Goddard. There was one behind Ertz at one point. The accuracy just wasn't there. There was one that the guys on the ESPN broadcast, tried to put on Jalen Hurts. I understand that the ball wasn't in a perfect spot there for Goddard. He hit the one on the left side and then the one they were going to the right side. I mean, the ball hit Dallas Goedert in the hands. I don't care if you think that ball could have been thrown better. If it hits you in the hands, you better catch it. You are also making money to make plays. You can make that catch there. So that one should not go on Jalen Hurts. But I think this one right here, it's exactly it. He didn't even see Devontae Smith fall down on the pick six, and he asked. You saw the clip after. He says, "What happened?" He goes, "I fell," and he goes, "You fell?"
Right. Yes. You didn't even see it.
You fell. Like there were a couple times where I didn't really know what he was looking at there. Even the that one ball to Ertz, like it was there and he just waited too long to throw it. I mean, it still worked out fine, but after the first couple, he looked the most rattled that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's usually very collected and very not fazed by anything. He looked a little bit rattled tonight.
Those two are connected.
Yeah,
absolutely connected because we've seen him make a mistake. And I know it seemed flawless against Atlanta, but even San Francisco, picking it up and trying to put things together in the second half, there was none of that. And look, guys are looking to him on that offense. And it's not only young kids around him like he is. There are other guys, there are veteran linemen looking back like, all right, let's get this thing together. Totally agree. I think both of you made the 2 points that connect as far as why Jalen struggled so much tonight. He was rattled. It fed into his accuracy, decision-making. And look, there were times in which it was glaringly obvious that these guys were not on the same page, that the offense was just not on the same page. And it goes back to, remember that RPO where, who is it who got nailed downfield? Was it Dickerson who got nailed downfield because Jalen held the ball too long?
Dickerson got one and Andre Dillard got another.
I think it was Dickerson towards the end.
Yeah, there were two of them.
It was an example of a play that seemed like it hadn't even been run that week. It was like something they had in the playbook, maybe against Atlanta and something along these lines. And it's like, dude, you've got such a new offense with a new quarterback, new players around him. You can't be pulling shit out that you haven't run in a couple of weeks. And if you did run it this week, it sure as hell looked like it didn't stick. So why are you going back to that play? And again, Hurts, that's the microcosm for me of the game. Hurts makes a nice throw, but it's negated by a mistake that he makes because the offense isn't on the same page. And it's maddening because you can never win like that. No matter how far you come back on a team, you'll never be able to narrow a gap because you keep killing yourself.
Right. But it's and for me though, it's even those things that I go, okay, that is something you can look at and you can clean that up, make that work. And if he can make those throws, you see where you can go from there. And that's where I've been trying to talk myself off that ledge this season, because this season is going to be a little bit of a wash, just based on where they are in their growth period. Mm-hmm. What makes it difficult though is how bad the rest of the NFC East is. That still it's always going to be open. We knew it was going to be the Eagles and Dallas for the division potentially. Dallas always looks great in the beginning of the season. We'll see how they look in December as they tend to do, as they tend to drift off towards the back end, and you never know. But I think those are the things that I've been trying to be rational for once in my life and be like, okay, this can get better. But then I go back to the other side of the ball where I'm looking at these things and I'm like, will these ever get better? Because they are philosophy issues.
Yeah. How many more bad tweets were you able to pull?
Everything is bad. Everything's bad. But I assume like the baseline is bad, but you said reckless. So I figured that you had a couple of bad that weren't like totally reckless. Okay.
There are 137 responses, and they are all bad. How he needs to go is my favorite. It's 4 words, but he needs to go.
Yes. It says hurt stock down. Okay, after this performance, yes. I feel tired, and it's only week 3. I think that's a consensus that a lot of us can relate to.
How about rent past due? I saw that from Vanquisher 15.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of those rent slogans. No more. I thought we told this guy to stop wearing T-shirts after the 49ers game. How many more weeks are we going to see? And this was bulletin board. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me. They acknowledged it down there in Dallas. The owner, everybody acknowledged it down in Dallas. It's one thing if you're wearing an Iverson jersey or if you're wearing Brandon Graham's face on there. But my goodness, can you stop taunting the other team, please? At least start there.
Yeah.
I just like the one that's just the meme of Eli Manning.
Yeah, I see that like
the double bird. What was he talking about? Does anyone know?
Somebody
No, but I saw on Twitter somebody put that picture up, and the tweet said that he thought that ESPN would blur it. So I guess they were talking about it, and maybe Peyton's like, "Go ahead, do it. They'll blur it out or something like that." And he tried to do it. And then, you see it. He's like double flipping out.
Yeah.
It's great. It's awesome.
It's amazing. And I'm going to use that all the time.
Yes.
That's now my go-to.
Wait, does that replace our favorite Sixers fan who hit Russell Westbrook with the double bird?
You mean the like MD that had courtside
mainline dock
that got taken away from that? He got banned from the Wells Fargo forever because that's funny too.
All right. I need some more before we get out of here. And this was a rough one, and I know people are upset. So we'll draw the line at like it's mustache time and some other crazy stuff there. But
let's see.
Anything at all we can get.
Bring back Carson.
I literally just was about to say I don't know about that one, but no, Carson.
I'm crying. No more T-shirts. Run the ball.
It says
run the ball.
Team, you're a bum. No, come on, guys.
It'll be okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wait, we got a positive one? We got a vote of confidence? It'll be okay?
It'll be okay.
Wow.
I don't know if it will.
Right.
But it might.
Right.
I said after these next few weeks. I don't know.
There's a lot of fire Howie Roseman's in here.
Yes.
This one's my favorite. Rob the Dog 916 says butts for linebackers.
Yes.
That's my favorite. I'm just gonna scroll through these in my free time because these are funny.
This
These
is
are
great.
actually these are making me feel better.
Good. Good. That's what they should be. They should all be therapeutic for us following this type of loss by all means.
Somebody changed the Beat Dallas t-shirt and it says beat. They added tape over it. It says beat by Dallas.
Oh,
R.I.P.
Yeah.
And I'm sad again.
Yeah.
Enough of the t-shirts.
Yeah. No more. No more.
See,
No
I hate
more
when the
t-shirts.
Eagles do this to me on primetime games because I'm not going to be able to sleep.
No.
I'm going to be like laying in bed thinking about all the BS that just happened. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be grumpy.
Yes.
Yeah, but at least it's one day less in the week that you'll be grumpy. If this happened Sunday night, then it would be Monday. It would compound your Monday even worse. That's a rough way to start the week. At least we stole a day this week. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Rachel, I would just like to also point out that the Dallas Cowboys tweeted that picture of the t-shirt.
Oh, really?
There
the Dallas Cowboys. So anybody reusing it is from the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm about to say a lot of people quote it. Maybe that's what I saw. Oh yeah, there it is.
I'm telling you, they couldn't wait to get that out.
I am sad.
Yes.
I am very sad.
Unbelievable.
All right.
I wonder if he's going to continue to do anything like this. Now, he's not going to come out. We joked about this before the show. He's not going to come out in a Hawaiian shirt. He's not going to have Andy Reid's face on here or anything like that. But, you know, they're going to play Washington. They're going to play the Giants. They're going to play Dallas again. I wonder if there is any more of this or if this is it. And he just goes back to wearing like Jalen's face. Hey, this would be the day I would say to wear come out tomorrow and wear Jalen's face, right? Show you support of your quarterback. Enough of this beat Dallas or anybody other bullshit.
Yeah. I was going to say, I hope he just keeps doing the Philly pandering, like wear a Bryce Harper t-shirt. The Allen Iverson jersey is a good one. Like, I think those are the things that we need to do. Yeah. Joel Embiid. I think we just need like, just go to the, like people were saying before, the Bryce Harper school of pandering to the Philadelphia crowd. Do that. Just go full-fledged support of Philly. Leave anybody else out of it. Don't do that.
Bad look. I mean,
it's unfortunate. It's like, what did Kamu Grugier-Hill, what did he say a couple years ago?
Oh, we're gonna go down and kick their ass.
Yeah.
About the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was and then that was the no clear recovery.
Yep.
Pain. Yep. So much pain.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's one thing if you're just wearing gear, but when you're calling the Philly special or you're giving another team bulletin board material, just slow down a little bit. I love the Bryce Harper thing. Now, what happens if he shows up in a Simmons shirt tomorrow?
Literally.
Honestly, I think you know what? That crowd that was supposed to be at the 76ers
allegedly
to boo, they're going to show up at NovaCare. That's what's going to happen.
Yes,
all right.
Throw them away.
R.I.P.
Yep. I love it. All right. Well, here's the thing. We have a short week to get back to business next week. And that's the good news. Bad news is it's the Kansas City Chiefs who, look, they give up a lot of points. They're 1-2.
I'm about to say they haven't been looking all that great this year, but
they don't look good.
Defense, a little shaky so far. They do. Here's the thing. Are they going to lose 3 games in a row?
They might. You don't know.
I don't like it.
See, I'm going to sit here and cry and act like I'm not going to be at the link on Sunday, like screaming my head off in my dress to the nines and Eagles gear. So, you know, convinced that we're going to beat the Chiefs by 30. So, you know,
that tweet was awesome.
Here's the thing. They could put up 30 on Kansas City. So that's the thing to always keep anything optimistic or positive about heading into this week is that they can definitely score on the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Whatever Kansas City does on offense, that's the wild card there by all means.
Yeah, I would love to see them just put up some points. Just get the offense in a rhythm and establish an offensive identity and just keep growing from there instead of working backwards. I think that's what I would really like to see from them.
Yes.
Serious homework. I see this. Study time, learned, progress from the Dungeon Master there. Look, it's going to be a long week, so hopefully we've prepared you emotionally, psychologically for what you're about to endure from all the media, social media, and everything else for the next couple of days. put the blinders up when you hear the Flacco, the Minshew, and all the other crap. But growing pains, I think that's the biggest takeaway that we've had, right? All three of us have kind of preached that, where it's going to take time. But on the flip side, and this is where Jess went off, rightfully so, at the beginning of the show, not everything is about growing pains. Some of it is about holding veterans accountable for boneheaded mistakes that they make, defense, and taking your team out of the game. So we'll see, because the defense is definitely going to have to step up and play smart and sharp against the Chiefs, so that sucker could be over fast. All right, we're out of here. We appreciate everybody. Make sure you're following on Twitter. Here's the thing. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to what we're doing here, and we'll be back next week. For Rachel, for Jess, I'm Eitan. Thank you so much for hanging with us on the BGN Radio Instant Reaction Show. Try to have a good week.